This is the case of perimembranous VSD. Size wise it is small in size and restrictive in nature. How to make difference between perimembranous and outlet supracristal VSD. So this is the image, parasternal short axis view at the level of aortic valve. So in this image, this is aortic valve. This hole is the right ventricle. So any flow you see between right ventricle and aortic valve, that is VSD. Here the VSD, if the VSD is close to tricuspid valve, then that is perimembranous VSD. Obviously, if you see it on imagine it on any clock, that it will be at 9 and 10 o'clock position. If VSD is touching the pulmonary valve, then that VSD is called outlet supracristal VSD or doubly committed VSD. Doubly committed VSD means VSD is below pulmonary valve and aortic valve. All this VSD is below the aortic valve. So if it is below aortic valve and pulmonary valve, then it is doubly committed, that is supracristal outlet VSD. Supracristal outlet VSD does not close spontaneously. So whenever you find supracristal outlet VSD, that means doubly committed VSD. The VSD closure is suggested early so that aortic valve does not get any damage. So that is the point to remember. So whenever you find VSD in short axis view, you try to see whether the VSD is close to tricuspid valve. Then perimembranous VSD, if it is touching the pulmonary valve, then close to pulmonary valve, then that is doubly committed, or you can say outlet supracristal VSD. And VSD in between tricuspid valve and pulmonary valve, that means VSD is just in between these two structures, pulmonary valve and tricuspid valve, approximately in between, and that is outlet infracristal VSD. That is usually borderline likely to close. If it is very small, may close spontaneously, but perimembranous VSD is almost always closes spontaneously if it is very small in size. Size wise, if it is size is less than 25% of that of aorta. Whenever the size of perimembranous VSD is less than 1/4 of that of aorta, then it is likely to close. When it is more than 50%, it is unlikely to close. So that is how you can make difference between whether the VSD is likely to close or not likely to close. In case of perimembranous VSD, but VSD is close to pulmonary valve, that is doubly committed VSD. Even it is small in size, restrictive nature, it is unlikely to close spontaneously. Even if it closes, it will damage aortic valve. That will be more dangerous situation. So VSD closure is suggested as early as possible in case of outlet supracristal VSD. Now the next image, again you see, if you see VSD in parasternal long axis view, this is the image parasternal long axis view. Whenever you try to rotate the probe to the RV inlet view, parasternal long axis view, one is classical image, that is probe is directed towards right shoulder. Whenever you rotate the probe towards right tricuspid valve, that is RV inlet. RV inlet means how right ventricle receives blood, that receives through tricuspid valve. So RV inlet view will give you image of tricuspid valve, and RV outlet will give you the image of pulmonary valve. RV outlet means blood goes out of right ventricle through pulmonary valve. So if parasternal long axis view, if you rotate the probe towards right ventricle inlet portion, then the VSD comes into view, then that is perimembranous VSD. You know the VSD that is close to tricuspid valve is perimembranous. If VSD comes in view when you rotate the probe, angulate the probe towards pulmonary valve, then angulation is the better term. Whenever you angulate the probe towards pulmonary valve, then VSD comes into view, then that VSD is outlet supracristal VSD. So even in case of parasternal long axis view, you can find out whether the VSD is perimembranous VSD or outlet VSD. In classical position, if you find VSD, then that will be the VSD of outlet infracristal. that will be the VSD in between 9 o'clock and between 2 o'clock, and that is almost 12 o'clock position. So if you get VSD best seen in view when you try to angulate the probe towards right ventricular inlet, then that is permanent VSD. If you find this VSD comes into view only when you angulate the probe towards right ventricular outlet, that is pulmonary valve comes into view, then that VSD is outlet VSD of supracristal outlet VSD. That is the point to know in this image. So whenever I try to angulate the probe towards right ventricular inlet, VSD comes into view, and best portion of VSD comes into view. If VSD is better seen, that means this is permanent VSD. That is the point to know from parietal long axis view. You can see VSD becomes better when RV inlet. You see what is this RV inlet view. VSD comes best when we angulate the probe towards right ventricular inlet portion, that is tricuspid valve portion. Here the left ventricle size wise little bit prominent, indicating the presence of VSD. If you have any, this case also has PFO, patent formidable. You can see the VSD is very close to tricuspid valve. So this is a small perimembranous VSD, restrictive in nature. Gradient wise, I will show you gradient. The gradient is 85 millimeter mercury. A peak gradient more than 64 millimeter, that is velocity more than 4 meter per second, that is restrictive nature. So this VSD is restrictive nature. Size is only 1.3 millimeter. You can see the size. Obviously size of aorta is here, you see 9 millimeter. So 1.4 millimeter is less than 1/4 of 9 millimeter. So ultimately this VSD comes into restrictive in nature. P gradient also shows the restrictive nature. Size by the small in size, so this VSD is likely to get closed spontaneously. So echo follow-up is needed, but VSD is likely to get closed. Thank you.